You're standing in a muddy field outside London. There's no ring, no referee, no rules you'd recognize, just two men with bare fists about to beat each other until one can't stand anymore. Welcome to 18th century boxing, where the sport you're watching isn't technically legal, the fight might last 6 hours, and there's a decent chance someone dies before sunset. Forget everything you know about modern boxing. This isn't 3-minute rounds with a nice rest in between. A round doesn't end because a bell rings. It ends when someone hits the dirt. Then you get 30 seconds to drag yourself back up and do it again. Some fights went 50 rounds. 50 times, someone got knocked down hard enough to end a round. Picture absorbing that kind of punishment with nothing but your bare skin and whatever toughness you were born with. The violence was absolutely unhinged. Punching was just the beginning. You could wrestle your opponent to the ground and fall on top of him with your full weight. You could grab him by the hair or neck and pummel his face repeatedly. That technique had a name: fibbing. Kicking was perfectly acceptable. Headbutts, throws, chokes, all fair game. The only things off limits were biting, scratching, hitting below the waist, and tearing hair out. Everything else? Go ahead. There were no weight classes either, just one champion. If you weighed 150 pounds and the current title holder weighed 220, tough luck. You either fought him or you didn't fight for the title. Smaller men regularly faced opponents who outweighed them by 50, 60, even 70 pounds. The matchups weren't about fairness. They were about spectacle. But here's what really made this life brutal. The sport was illegal. Despite a law passed in 1750 banning prize fighting, the matches kept happening. They just moved to secret locations, open fields, remote farms, anywhere the magistrates couldn't easily reach. You weren't just risking your life in the ring, you were risking arrest simply for showing up. Fighters spent months in jail. One spent 3 months in horsemonger jail. Another faced a 200-pound bond for good behavior, which was more than most working men earned in a decade. So why did anyone do this? The money, supposedly. The winner of a major fight could earn 90 pounds. That sounds impressive when you realize a shepherd made 16 pounds a year. 90 pounds could change your life. But here's the catch most fighters never considered. While you were earning 90 pounds and risking prison, the wealthy spectators betting on your fight were wagering 200,000 pounds. At one match alone, you were breaking your body and dodging the law for a fraction of what the upper classes gambled on your performance. The corruption made it even worse. Jack Slack became the first fighter known to fix a match. For years, rumors swirled that he'd paid off top contenders to lose so they wouldn't challenge his title. Then, a year after losing his championship, he paid William Stevens to take a dive against his protege George Meggs. After that, fixed fights became common. The sport's credibility collapsed. If you refused to participate in fixes, you could find yourself blacklisted from good opportunities. Or worse, matched against someone who'd been paid extra to hurt you. Your body started breaking down immediately. Without gloves, every punch to your opponent's skull risked shattering the small bones in your hands. A broken hand meant you couldn't fight, couldn't earn. In an era with no safety net, that could mean starvation. Your face told the story of your career: permanent scars, missing teeth, disfigured features that marked you for life as a fighter. The skin on your knuckles split open constantly. You fought through torn flesh and exposed bone because stopping meant losing your payday. The cumulative damage was catastrophic. Fighters absorbed punishment that would hospitalize modern athletes. In one documented match, a fighter's strength and blood both poured from his nostrils by the 5th round. 4 rounds later, his opponent was on his knees. They kept fighting. The longest recorded bare-knuckle match lasted 6 hours and 15 minutes. Imagine throwing and receiving punches for 6 straight hours with nothing protecting your hands or face. And the worst part? What happened after these fights ended tells you everything about why this life was pure misery. You'd think after surviving the fight you could finally rest. You couldn't. The brain damage started immediately, though nobody understood what was happening. You'd absorbed hundreds of punches directly to your skull. No padding, no protection, just bare knuckles against bone. Modern research calls it chronic traumatic encephalopathy. 18th century fighters just called it becoming strange. Your personality changed. You'd fly into rages over nothing. Your memory started failing. You'd forget conversations from an hour ago. Depression crept in like fog. Some fighters described feeling like their minds were trapped in mud, and the shaking. Your hands trembled constantly, making simple tasks impossible. This wasn't just 1 or 2 fighters. This was the standard outcome. When you absorbed 50 knockdowns in a single fight, each one was a concussion. When you fought dozens of matches across your career, you were accumulating thousands of head traumas. Your brain was destroying itself from the inside, and there was no treatment, no understanding, just a slow descent into confusion and rage. The social toll was equally devastating. Hen Pierce, known as the Game Chicken, was forced into early retirement. A turbulent marriage pushed him toward alcohol. Many fighters followed the same path. You'd turn to gin to numb the constant pain in your broken hands, to quiet the ringing in your ears, to escape the nightmares of fights that wouldn't leave your mind. Without modern pain management, self-medication was the only option. The drinking culture of the era made it worse. Every victory celebration involved alcohol, every training camp, every gathering with other fighters. Soon you couldn't function without it. The celebrity fighters experienced unique pressures. Temporary fame brought temptations you weren't prepared for. Gambling, women, hangers-on who disappeared the moment your career ended. When the fight stopped, so did everything else. Most fighters who made it past 40 faced 3 options. Training other fighters if you could still speak clearly, returning to manual labor if your body could handle it, or crime. The lack of legitimate opportunities for broken-down fighters meant many turned to theft, robbery, or enforcement work for criminal enterprises. Your life expectancy was shockingly low. Thomas Molyneux died at 34 from tuberculosis. His body, weakened by years of fighting and the lifestyle that came with it, couldn't fight off disease. This wasn't unusual. The combination of brain trauma, physical damage, poverty, alcoholism, and general hardship meant most fighters died young. Even those who achieved fame and fortune often ended their lives in poverty. The physical toll destroyed you from within. In 1743, Jack Broughton watched his opponent die from fight injuries. He tried to introduce rules. If you got knocked down, you had 30 seconds to stand. No hitting below the waist, no striking a downed opponent. He even created padded gloves called mufflers for training. But here's the thing nobody wanted to acknowledge. Those training gloves never used in actual fights. Not until 1867, over a century later, did regulations require them. For more than 100 years after protective equipment existed, fighters continued competing bare-knuckled. The establishment prioritized spectacle over survival. Even Broughton's rules didn't help much. 30 seconds to recover from being knocked unconscious? Completely inadequate. Your corner would drag you to your feet, push you back toward the center mark. If you couldn't reach it within 8 additional seconds, you lost. This system sent semi-conscious fighters back into combat repeatedly, unable to defend themselves, unable to think clearly, just stumbling forward because losing meant losing everything. One fight in 1833 lasted 99 rounds, 3 hours and 6 minutes of continuous violence. The fighter died 3 days later from brain damage. The winner faced a manslaughter trial but was acquitted. Because this was just boxing. This was entertainment. Being an 18th century boxer meant choosing a life that would destroy you. You fought with bare hands for hours, absorbed catastrophic injuries, faced arrest simply for showing up, and died young from accumulated damage. The lack of medical care, absence of real safety rules, widespread corruption, and exploitation by wealthy patrons made it one of history's most brutal professions. A few fighters achieved temporary fame. Most ended their lives broken, impoverished, and forgotten, their bodies destroyed by a sport that valued spectacle over human welfare. This was the price of being a fighter when fighting meant everything and your life meant nothing. You survived the ring only to lose everything outside it. Your hands too broken to work, your mind too damaged to think straight, your body too worn to do anything but wait for the end. The 90 pounds you earned bought temporary relief from poverty but guaranteed permanent ruin. While wealthy spectators walked away from your fights with pockets full of winnings, you walked away with a death sentence that just took longer to arrive than the fight itself.